I'm Zoe. I'm an advanced accredited practicing dietitian and a registered nutritionist, and I am course director for the Bachelor of Nutrition Science. And I'm really grateful that you've joined us today to hear about our program, and I hope I can excite you a little bit about nutrition science at Monash. And also we're very fortunate to have Bhavita, who's one of our third years here today, who's going to tell you a little bit about the student experience in our course. Firstly, before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respect to elders past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are joining us today. So why study nutrition science? So I think now more than ever, we need qualified nutrition professionals within society. You might not know this, but 1 in 3 people globally are impacted by malnutrition in its many forms. So malnutrition includes things like overweight and obesity, but also undernutrition, and micronutrient deficiencies. So this really is a global problem. There's really having quite significant effects on global health. So that we now know that 6 out of the top 9 risk factors for global health are related to diet. Many of you will be familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, which you'll see a selection of those on the screen right now. And we're seeing anywhere between 11 or 12 of the 17 goals are being really clearly linked to nutrition, food systems, sustainability. So there's a really key movement and moment for nutrition at the moment. We've recently updated some of our course videos, and I'm not going to share the video now as it's lagging a little bit, but we'll share the link to this video to give you a little bit more insight in the chat to watch at another time. It's quite a short kind of 2.5 minute video.
When you press start.
And I'll move on. So I guess some of the key take-home points that I really want to note about our course today is that we are the only program in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia that is internationally accredited. So our course is accredited with the Association for Nutrition in the UK. What that means is that we're really delivering a high standard competency-based MAP curriculum. And when you graduate from our program, you can apply to be an associated nutritionist with the association. And this means you've got opportunities to work in the UK and around Europe, and also have that credential here in Australia. In terms of our teaching, we do work really hard to deliver specialised nutrition science training. So the focus on our course is really very much contextualising that nutrition learning. We do have quite significant science in the course. We look at chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, but we always are trying to work to contextualise that learning in nutrition. So for example, learning about the chemistry of digestion. Our pathway, the program also has an accelerated pathway to becoming a dietitian. So the 3-year Bachelor of Nutrition Science course can then lead on to the Masters of Nutrition and Dietetics here at Monash, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in this presentation. We're working really hard to try and think about employability for our graduates, what that might look like in this quite multi-vocational profession. We have award-winning educators, both at the university level and also national award-winning educators, and really key researchers and nutrition professionals delivering our program. And we've focused on delivering hands-on learning experiences, and I'll talk a little bit about what they look like for nutrition in our program. I also wanted just to give you a bit of a sense about what kind of the years look like for years 1 and 2 to give you an idea about what you actually will be studying if you come and join us at Monash. In year 1, we really start to lay the foundations of nutrition science from a science perspective. So you do things like science foundations, human biology and physiology is quite a focus there. But we're starting also to think about the development of your professional self as a nutrition professional with subjects such as personal and professional perspectives in nutrition, where we look at what are some careers in nutrition, but also some of those other concepts such as reflection, that that are really key to being a health professional. We also start to really challenge some of your critical thinking lens with a subject called evaluating the evidence. And you start to learn about food and its nutrients, because this is a nutrition program. So in human nutrition, we start to introduce all the key nutrients. And in food science, you get into the kitchen and start to understand what are some of the principles when we think about modifying foods, for example. In year two, it is quite an integrated year. So we have a couple of combined units. Health across the lifespan is one example, and food science, composition and skills. And then in second semester, we kind of bring that back with some more, I guess, nutrition contextualized science. So things like advanced nutritional physiology and nutritional biochemistry. We also have that research theme kind of flowing through this year too. In year three, you have opportunities to really start to tailor your program of study. So we have in purple our core units, and these are really starting to do more application of nutrition and science principles in things like public health and chronic disease. We look at food sustainability systems, as well as precision and personalised nutrition, which is really how nutrition and genetics can interact. With third year, we also have a range of elective options. So these, we have in third year 18 credit points of elective options. One we ask that is actually a nutrition elective, and that can be from our selection here on screen. And one of those is a work placement. Students can also choose up to 12 credit points from electives across the university. So students can start to tailor other interests, which might include business or language or a range of other study areas that students have chosen for their electives. In terms of our facilities, what does it look like actually coming to Monash? So we're very lucky on Clayton campus to teach in some beautiful buildings, such as the Learning and Teaching Building, where we have flat floor spaces to do collaborative workshops. We have the BDI, where we do our labs on campus. But also within our department, we have a commercial kitchen, which is really key to our food science components of the course. And students get into the kitchen and cook in year 1 and 2, and depending on their electives, also in year 3 as well. So that food component is really central to our program. Sorry, the other thing to say in our department is that we also have a clinic running, and we have a full sports and exercise nutrition lab with a range of body comp techniques that we use within our research and also integrate that into our teaching as well. In terms of the hands-on experiences throughout our course, it is things like our research projects that students can get involved in. We have our work placements in third year with a range of industry partners. We offer vacation scholarships, which are opportunities over the semester break periods to work on defined projects. And we've been supporting some students to look at studying semesters abroad. So going over to another university to complete one of the semesters of their degree. We've been really keen on in kind of this year and last year, really promoting some of the flagship Monash University experience as well, particularly the Global Immersion Guarantee in first year, which is an amazing opportunity for students to travel to different countries to work on sustainable development projects. And also the Monash Innovation Guarantee, which kind of has more of an industry lens. So what is a career in nutrition science? You might be kind of wondering, where does this lead to? So with a nutrition science degree, graduates can go and work in food industry, work alongside research and development teams in these food industries, but also look at food law and regulation. We have a really leading team looking at sports and exercise here at Monash, and that's an area for nutrition professionals. Research pathways are a big kind of follow-on career that nutrition scientists might take. Working in public health and promotion, so looking at the health of our populations and strategies we can do to improve that through nutrition, as well as education, both of small groups up to populations as well on nutrition. Here are just a couple of our graduate stories. Chloe was the lead dietitian at Yakult for a while, and she's since been replaced by another one of our Monash graduates. And Sarah is also one of our graduates who went on to be a public health nutrition officer and has really kind of drawn on her experiences from the course as well to go into that profession. The other thing that you might be interested in is our dietetics program here. So typically the master's program is 2 years if you haven't completed our bachelor program. But if you have done the Bachelor of Nutrition Science here at Monash, that master's is an 18-month duration. So it's an accelerated program. So you can come and become a dietitian in 4.5 years here at Monash. The prerequisites for the master's program are covered within our Bachelor of Nutrition Science. Our master's program is accredited with Dietitians Australia. So that means that once you complete that master's program, you are eligible to be an accredited practicing dietitian, which means that you can work in hospitals or have Medicare rebate, for example. And there's a range of different placement experiences as a part of that program that cover things like hospital placements, food service, food systems, and community placements as well. A note on kind of the relationship between the two courses as well is that we do have a stream to apply for called the Nutrition Scholars Program. So this is for students who have an ATAR, who achieve an ATAR over 90, and enrolling in the Scholars Program guarantees you a place in the accredited Masters program, provided that you maintain a grade over 60%. And just noting that the VTAC code is different for our nutrition science versus our nutrition scholars program. There's also some small financial support available via the scholars program. A couple of other ideas around further study post the bachelor program. We have the Bachelor of Biomed Science Honours in the nutrition discipline that students can undertake if they're looking in that research pathway. And also at Monash, we have the Master of Food Science and Agribusiness, which starts to take a lot more of that kind of business industry lens as well. Just a quick touch on the entry requirements. We, as of last year, have removed a requirement for chemistry or biology. So our prerequisites are now around English. We are providing those subject bonuses for students who have studied chemistry and biology. Our lowest selection rank in the 24-25 recruitment round was 71, and we took in 130 students. And then just a reminder, we also have the Scholars Program as well. Finally, before I finish up, I just wanted to highlight some of our amazing student support in our program as well. So we have an award-winning program for international students run by Dr. Tammy Choi. We've recently started SEEK, which is our Student Engagement and Experience Committee, to really start to hear feedback from our students. We have a very active society that I'm sure Vivisha might touch on, as well as there are huge support throughout the university for our students as well. And on that note, I am just going to hand over to our next speaker.
Thanks, Zoe. Dan, on to you, Dan. So Dan will quickly talk about the Bachelor of Biomedical Science at Monash. We'll just wait for Dan to share slides.
Just looking if I have permission to do that. Looks like I can't turn my video on either. I can share my slides. Let me just get that ready. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Looks like this can work. All right, 1 second. All right, is that coming through now? Great. Looks like we're
just
all...
got to go full screen and we should be good.
Can you see it full screen now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Let's get started. So welcome everyone. Here to tell you plans. So plenty to get through. So let's So really we're looking at the human body and also, things that are impacting that human body through a number of different lenses. So you can see a lot of the different scientific, a lot of the different scientific disciplines here, whether we're talking about, then if you want to look at the next level up in terms of the cellular level, then we're starting to talk about, anatomy, how the cells are working together, physiology, and things that can impact the body in terms of microorganisms and our defense against that, immunology. And then, of course, we have the pharmacology to try and intervene in that way as well with the drugs. So you get a really great holistic understanding of the body and how we as scientists are trying to actually intervene and make things better for both the individual and the population. And because you are getting the different perspectives from each of these disciplines, it does set you up for a number of different pathways, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So within Monash, we have a world-leading biomedical research institute. Some of you may have heard of it, the Monash Biomedicine Discovery Institute, and the Biomed program sort of sits within that as well. So our lecturers do research within this facility, and you'll get taught by some world-leading researchers. So it's a fantastic facility. I did actually do my PhD there a little while ago as well. So and it's only gone from strength to strength since then. All right. So how do we teach in the Bachelor of Biomed? So as much as possible, we're trying to get you guys together, thinking, reasoning, working together, challenging each other's ideas. There is plenty of chances to develop your laboratory skills and also develop your skills above and beyond the content knowledge. So really challenged to develop those critical thinking skills, ability to work in a team, and a lot of it is about communicating in different ways and developing ways to communicate science to different audiences as well. So yeah, very interactive and immersive experience for our students. And to further that, we have some fantastic buildings which we do the majority of our teaching in, and these buildings were kind of built around COVID time, so they weren't getting a lot of use for a little while, but they are getting plenty of use now. So plenty of flat floor teaching space and also state-of-the-art labs in the BLTB here. You can see on the left-hand side here. So yes, I remember when I was touring Monash as a prospective student a very long time ago now. I wasn't overly impressed with the labs back then, but these labs are fantastic. So definitely nothing to worry about there. So what does the course structure look like? So essentially, we start off relatively broad, still quite specialized. One thing that's unique about this course is that all of the teaching is done specifically for biomed students. So some biomed courses will actually be, co-taught with science or even another discipline. So all of our units are specifically designed for biomed students, and that is really useful for that, developing the relationships with the cohort, but also the specialized knowledge you need within biomed to go on to do, whatever you're going to do next. So you can see here, getting a great foundation in molecular biology, biochemistry. There's plenty of anatomy and physiology. And then once we move into second year, we start to integrate a little bit more in terms of looking at things together in terms of bioinformatics, which draws together ideas about genetics and molecular biology. And the microbes and health and disease is leaning on, immunology, microbiology, etc. And it all sort of culminates in third year, where we're really looking at some of the world-leading research that's happening in that Biomedical Discovery Institute and looking at how biomedical research and these discoveries that are being made can actually address some of the biggest problems of our time. So I'm sure some of you have heard a bit about precision medicine, and that's kind of the way of the future with things like gene editing and gene therapy just starting to be able to be developed in a really meaningful way now. So, and of course, you do also have the opportunity to take on some electives throughout, 2 electives for first and second year, and then 4 in third year. So yeah, the electives, obviously a great way to, get a nice breadth experience while you're going through university. You can also use it if you wanted to kind of specialize in a way. If there was a particular aspect of biomedical science that you found super interesting, for example, okay, I'm a biomedical science student and I'm really connecting with physiology, you can use some of your electives to do extra physiology units, or you may want to do something completely different. And we do also have some specific electives that we run as biomed. So there's industry placement, where you actually get placed into an organization within the biomedical industry. So something like a pharmaceutical company, for example, or a clinical trials company. There's plenty of others as well, and that runs in winter and summer. It's also a really great way of sort of opening your horizons for what else might be possible once you do graduate. There's also a very intensive lab intensive here, BME 3032, for anyone interested in the the way a lab functions and whether you think the research pathway might be for you. This is a really great window into what it's like to work in a real lab and have a project where all the answers aren't necessarily predefined and you're actually working on a real project. And not dissimilar to the 3990 projects, where you can specialize in a particular discipline and do a project over a semester. Interestingly, there is also the opportunity to do these projects in educational research. So a number of our academics specialize in educational research rather than the lab-based stuff, and I am one of those. So some of my research looks at intrinsic motivation and ways we can try and cultivate that within our students to give them better chance of developing lifelong learning skills and in-depth knowledge that they'll be able to use throughout their lifetimes. All right, another thing that we have on offer in Biomed is the professional development program, and you interact with this throughout the unit, and it's kind of just bridging that the pathway between what you're doing in Biomed and what you might be able to do after. So you can see some of this content is around assessing job market, interviews, even things like mindfulness and well-being. So it's really valuable to get a handle on that before you graduate. And while you're going through the Biomed program, there's plenty of support available. Biomedical Student Society does a lot of great things. They even had a podcast the last couple of years to help connect the cohort together. There's these peer-assisted study sessions, and peer mentoring program is a great way to get integrated into the Monash environment. And yeah, you get a peer mentor to help with that transition. And Studiosity is a new thing that allows you to get 24-hour support on your learning journey. All right, so what happens after Biomed? Well, lots of different things. So really, by doing a Biomed course, you're setting yourself up for a number of different pathways, and you can see some of those main pathways here, whether it be a particular health profession that usually does require some sort of postgraduate study, and I'll show you some of the examples of that, medicine being one. And there's also the the research stream, where you can continue on to do honours and then a PhD, and that you're sort of aligning to more of the research pathway that way. And there is the opportunity to go straight into biomedical industry as well and work in the industry that supports biomedical research. So let's have a look at a couple of examples of the health professions, and there's a lot of master's courses that do connect on to Biomed, and we can see some of these here. So the top of the tree is obviously medicine, and we do have the direct entry pathway for, I think it's roughly 70 places per year. So just based on the achievement during Biomed, not requiring the GAMSAT or anything, but you can see a number of other programs here, and there's many more aligning. So what I have heard about, people who have done undergrad biomed at Monash and gone on to do these other courses is from people sort of running these courses and even employers, that the foundations that they developed during biomed stood them in really good stead for when they did, go on to do these other courses and ultimately, be able to practice in these fields. So particularly they were able to, notice the difference between people who had done medicine straight through an undergrad versus people who had done biomed first. So yeah, certainly some great experience and grounding for whatever comes next. So there's a few testimonials here from students, and I think I will just briefly read some of these because I think they are quite impactful. So this was Kyle, who was able to connect through to a medicine course. So biomed laid a solid foundation of core skills and experiences that equipped me to navigate new tasks and challenges with a medical degree. I appreciate the breadth offered through electives. The research in action subject was a favourite, allowing me to complete my own lab-based research project. Yeah, so the research in action project I mentioned earlier is a great one. And you can see Kyle was talking about how this undergrad biomed really set him up for med. So here we have Adriana, who moved into a career in public health after completing a master's. So let's have a look at what Adriana had to say. All the subjects in biomedical science prompted me to use critical thinking skills, which I didn't notice when completing my studies. However, as I entered the workforce, I realized how valuable the transferable skills is. Many employers love it when you're able to collect, analyze, and synthesize information in a succinct manner. So I think that's a really good example of the skills that you're developing through the biomed degree, as well as that content knowledge. It's actually the skills really that allow you to connect everything together and to make you really attractive to employers in that way. So here's the research stream, and Rahani went on to do honours and I think also a PhD here. So now she is a pharmacology lecturer. So biomedical science ignited my passion for research. The degree combined theory with hands-on laboratory experience that prepared me for research. For example, in pharmacology, I tested drugs, while in microbiology, I learned the importance of aseptic techniques. And there's one more. So this is Aaron, who actually went into a related field of consulting. So this is a good example where biomed, has equipped Aaron in this case with a great knowledge base, but with a lot of skills as well. And he was able to actually take that in, I guess, a bit of an uncommon direction by going into consulting. So let's see what he had to say. If it was not for my biomedical science degree, I would not have the analytical skills required as a risk consultant. Through numerous labs, lectures, and tutorials from outstanding individuals, I was able to adapt to new topics quickly and practice my attention to detail skills. Yeah, so interesting insights there from Aaron. So hopefully from these testimonials and some of the other stuff I've been mentioning, you're sort of getting the feel that you're getting a lot out of the biomed degree, and what you're getting is quite varied in terms of both the knowledge base and the skills you're developing as well. So I think there's only a couple of slides left and I've got about a minute left. So here are some examples of the master's courses that do connect from the undergrad biomed course. And of course, some of you would be familiar with the postgrad med alignment. So there is that Monash pathway to go straight through to postgrad med Monash for those 70 individuals who have met the ranking requirement and also have performed well in the interview. And of course, you still have the option of doing the GAMSAT and open to other medical programs as well. So that is a major pathway for a lot of the students doing biomed. And of course, we've got our research pathway as well, which includes a year of honours as your undergraduate degree. And then if you're wanting to continue that or perhaps exit that point and move into some sort of industry role, the PhD is on offer as well. So really quickly, I know I'm pretty much out of time. The lowest selected ranking was around 90 for the last 3 years. with prerequisites of English, maths, and chemistry. So interestingly, I'm sure most of you know this as well, you can do a double degree with biomed, and you can see the different years there. 4 years for commerce and science, and law and engineering is each 5 years. So yeah, hopefully you've got a little bit better of an idea of what a biomed course could offer you, and even what it could connect to thereafter, whether it be a job in industry or one of the interesting pathways that I mentioned.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So before you head off, I know you're jumping off in a bit. I do have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just very quickly, in regards to transitioning from high school year 12 to first year biomedical science, how challenging it is in terms of, getting used to the units and content.
Yeah, sure. So it's definitely a step up. I suppose, like as a general thing, I would say in high school, and maybe it's a little bit less like this now than, what I'm familiar with, but I guess you can get away a fair bit with, sort of rote learning and really just memorizing in a way. But once you do get into, first year biomed, there is definitely more emphasis on applying information, solving problems, using critical thinking. So there are a number of sort of learning strategies that go along with that. So I suppose it's a sort of a long-winded way of saying that some of the study strategies that allowed you to do well at high school may need to be complemented by some of these sort of deeper learning strategies. So in terms of that jump, I think as long as people are, aware that things do function a bit differently once you're at university, and just trying to be mindful of the expectations, or even, trying to get some feedback on your approach, then it should ease that transition.
All right, thanks, Dan. One last question. It's in regards to possible careers that someone can get into after biomed without further study. What are just
absolutely.
briefly some examples?
Yeah, sure. So research assistants in different walks of life, clinical trials, consultants, scientific communication, really anything. There is like a whole basically industry that supports biomedical science, and really you as a biomedical graduate, you are set up to try and enter that. So there are a number of companies that make a lot of the equipment that is actually used to conduct biomedical research. So there's that side of things as well. So yeah, I guess one way to get a little bit of exposure to that industry is that BME 2032 unit, where you actually do get placed in an industry. So that's a really useful one to get a bit of a hint as to whether that pathway might be for you.
All right, thanks so much for your time, Dan. If you have time, feel free to jump on to the Q&A to respond as well. But if not, thank you so much for your time. I would like to invite Bhavisha now to share her student experience. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, just a quick introduction for myself. My name is Bhavisha. I'm an international student from Malaysia, and I'm currently in my final year of the Bachelor of Nutrition Science. One of the things that's really stood out from the beginning was how engaging the classroom experience was. It wasn't just lectures and textbooks, but it's like a real focus on building a solid scientific foundation while also encouraging us to think outside the box. First year really laid the groundwork for us, like in terms of science foundations. It was very science heavy, but being science heavy, it gave me the confidence to sort of understand the why behind nutrition advice. And even though they were all science-based, the classes weren't just lectures. We had workshops and labs that encouraged all of this critical thinking. And this ended up being such an important skill for units later on when we started looking at broader concepts like population health and evaluating nutrition evidence. One of the things about this course is we're also really lucky that it's smaller. Like, for example, my cohort's about, I think, 70 people, and most of the units are core units, which means you guys all have the same units at the same time. So since you see the same people all the time, it makes it really easy to socialize and meet people within the course. You also get to know all your lecturers really well, and they get to know you really well. And one thing, Monash's nutrition lecturers, they really care. I've never felt anxious or scared to ask any of them a question. They're always reiterating how they're there to help us succeed. So that's been really nice. Having said that, I feel what made the course even better was how it connected to hands-on experience. We've gotten heaps of hands-on experience throughout the course. In year 1 and 2, it was either through lab work or what we call kitchen labs. So kitchen labs are quite easily the most fun part of the course. We get to go over to the kitchen facility in the Be Active Sleep Eat building. It's just off campus. And we cook there, we eat, we get to take leftovers home sometimes. And it was a lot of fun to cook up different recipes with our friends and like compare recipe substitutions, see what substitutions might have been better in theory than in practice. You also get the option in year 3 to partake in real world experience, whether that's through placement or research projects. And outside of hands-on learning, another one of the most rewarding aspects of my time at Monash has been getting involved in student life. As an international student, coming to Monash was a really big adjustment socially and academically, but the support systems here have made such a huge difference. I can't stress that enough. One of the most impactful experiences so far has been being part of the Student Experience and Engagement Committee, like Zoe mentioned earlier. And this committee was actually just introduced in my second year last year. And during these meetings, year representatives get the chance to share feedback with the department about how the semester has been progressing so far. And that gave me the chance to connect with other cohorts across year levels and kind of actively contribute to shaping the student experience, which has been great. We've also seen the department action feedback that we give. So it's really nice to know that you're being heard and that it's not for show. I'm also currently the events coordinator for the Monash Nutrition and Dietetics Society, and that's been such a fun role. We run heaps of activities throughout the year, like social events, wellness workshops, professional networking nights, and we really aim to give all of our peers a chance to engage with each other beyond the classroom. And we just want to give everyone a sense of like community within the society. So being so involved at Monash, whether it was through the Student Engagement Committee or the Monash Nutrition and Dietetics Society, it's really shaped just my entire student experience at Monash. It's been so wholesome. And I actually came into the course very certain I wanted to go straight into dietetics. And I remember during our orientation, they were telling us, keep an open mind, you never know what you might experience. And I was like, no, I know what I'm gonna do. And I've changed my mind. I've been exposed to so many things at Monash, whether it's through guest lecturers, our own lecturers, they're all such experts in their field. So it's really made me genuinely excited about the prospect of working in the industry side of nutrition. And there's a lot of innovation happening there as well. So it's been really exciting. So yeah, now I'm keeping an open mind about where my path might lead. And that's not something I expected. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my nutrition journey so far. If there's one thing I've taken away from this course, it's that your interest can always evolve, and that's a really good thing. And doing it at Monash has given me the space to explore. And being an international student, I wasn't sure what to expect, but Monash really prioritizes support and inclusivity. So thank you so much for listening. I hope what I've shared gives you a glimpse into how dynamic the whole course can be.
All right, thank you, Bavisha. Before you head off, I do have a quick question in regards to what is a typical week like for a student in first year?
Okay. For first year, it tends to be a bit more demanding in terms of how many days you're expected to be on campus. And that's because one of the units that you do in year 1, semester 1 is called Science Foundations. And that's where you do your first half of the semester biology and the second half is chemistry. So because it's a lot of content, I think there were 3 2-hour lectures that were in person. They were recorded as well, but obviously in person is always better. So first year was a little bit more demanding, but the course load kind of, in my opinion, eases up a little bit in terms of how many days you're expected to be on campus throughout the course, if that makes sense. I'm so sorry. I hope I answered your question.
Yep, thanks, Bavisha. We do have another question in regards to what are some of the challenges you may have faced finishing high school and then starting first year uni in nutrition science? How different is the content?
Okay. For me, it's a little bit different. I didn't go through the Australian high school system. I did IGCSE and then I did A levels and then I came into uni. So because I did A levels, I'm not too sure how similar it would be to the Australian high school experience. Um, it wasn't that bad to me at all. I felt like the pace of the final year of A levels and uni was very similar. So for me, it wasn't too bad of an adjustment at all.
All right, thank you, Bhavisha. So what are some opportunities for students to get involved on campus in regards to like being more involved in a community setting to help contribute in regards to nutrition and dietetics?
Okay. There's a lot of opportunities to get involved. Literally anything you could imagine, Monash probably has it. In terms of the Monash Nutrition and Dietetics Society, even first years can get involved in being part of the committee itself. You can be a first year representative, and be sort of the bridge between the society and your cohort. And then in your second year, you can progress and you can even be the president in second year. So there's a lot of opportunity to get involved for sure.
All right, thank you, Bhavisha. Zoe, perhaps this is a question for you as well, and Bhavisha, feel free to jump in. What are some opportunities in terms of taking up elective units in other areas outside of nutrition science?
Bavisha, do you want to say what electives you're doing this year?
Yes, so I'm actually doing an elective in economics. Can't remember the exact title, but it was something global economics and Southeast Asian businesses. So completely unrelated to nutrition, but just an area that I had interest in. So I did an elective in it.
So we do have space for students to take up to 12 credit points or equivalent of kind of 2 standard units of electives from anywhere in the university. The only, I guess, statements we say about that is they must be year 2 or 3 level. We have had students undertake, so business subjects, we have students undertake arts kind of faculty subjects, languages, professional subjects. Some go and do more in-depth physiology. Some stay with us and do all the nutrition electives that we offer. So I think there's a real big range of opportunities for electives. And also the gig program, I think, is a huge kind of plus that students can take. And we're really working hard to make more room flexible for that in the course.
Thanks, Zoe, Bhavisha, and Bhavisha. Zoe, could you maybe elaborate a bit more about what are some overseas opportunities that students can consider? I know you briefly mentioned that in your presentation, but if you could just elaborate more on that.
Yeah, sure. So obviously first is the gig program, which is that opportunity at the end of year 1 to travel to a country and work on a sustainable development project. And participating in gig is 12 credit points. So we've got the electives to do that. And a lot of it's funded by the university. So it is an amazing opportunity. The other thing is that we do have study abroad as a potential option in the course. So that means, like I said, taking a semester of the course in another country. I guess there are a few little challenges as we negotiate that with students. It's just when we have quite a lot of core options, it can be a little bit tricky to marry up our courses. But definitely in third year, we've had students go abroad, and I've worked with a couple of students recently who've been planning their semesters abroad. So we are very supportive of semesters abroad, and we work with students to kind of make that happen.
Thank you, Zoe. We have a question here, which I can see that Bhavisha is typing an answer to it as well. But yes, please continue on, Bhavisha.
Yeah, I might as
And
well
maybe
answer it live.
yes.
Yeah, so the question was how heavy is the Bachelor of Nutrition Science biochemistry, chemistry-wise? There is definitely, I'm not gonna lie to you, there is biochemistry and chemistry involved, but it's understandable, it's graspable. I know that's not a word, but you can definitely, if you do your lectures, you come to the workshops and you get the help you need, it's definitely doable. It's not that hard.
Have you got anything to add, Zoe?
I just say, I think and I hope we try to make it quite nutrition focused always. So
Yeah.
we always kind of really saying this is what you need in nutrition in terms of how it's structured biochem and chemistry.
Yeah, that's a really good point to add. You never at any point in the course find yourself questioning like, why am I doing this? Because at the end of almost every workshop or lecture, they relate it back to nutrition and why you're doing it. So that's really good.
All right, thank you, Bhavisha and Zoe. Perhaps Zoe, in regards to first year, how are students supported in terms of like that transition? I know Bhavisha touched very briefly earlier on, but yeah, from an academic perspective, how are students being supported for first year?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first units our students will take alongside Science Foundation is the unit called Personal and Professional Perspectives in Nutrition. And in this unit, whilst we're kind of really encouraging students to think a little bit more broadly about healthcare, we're also doing some activities that really support transition to university from school. So we do things like exploring how to find references in the library, how to reference something appropriately. We have some assessment that doesn't count to the final grade, so students can have that first assessment that doesn't have any percentages on it. So that's how we're kind of really starting to support that transition. We have also implemented, since Bhavisha's done Science Foundations, some peer learning groups within Science Foundation. So really driving kind of peer groups to support that learning early on. So we have quite an intensive support, particularly in that first semester.
Thank you, Zoe. All right. So we have a couple more questions to go. But in terms of the whole student life and experience, Bhavisha, do you have anything else to add in regards to the cohort experience? Like how big is the class? Like, how big is the class and how small is the class rather? How big or small?
Sure. So our class is really small. I think we started off with just under 100, if I believe, and then now we're about at 70, kind of, yeah. And the rest have kind of just transitioned to like other degrees or something else they're more interested in. But it's been really nice. Like the group of girls I met like within my first week at uni, they're still the same girls I see like 3 times a week. So it's really nice. It's a smaller cohort. You interact a lot more personally with your lecturers. Pretty much Zoe sees my face like 4 times a week, or I'm in her emails asking her some question or the other. So it's been really nice, like having like very personal relationships with not just your peers, but also your lecturers.
Thanks, Bhavisha. So we had a question here in regards to not knowing what you want to do after nutrition science degree. So what active steps are you taking in terms of like identifying what is it you want to do next?
It's a good question. So I've chosen to do the placement unit for my third year elective since I have the extra credit points. So initially I was going to do the research project, which spans across semester 1 and semester 2. But because I decided not to go into the master's straight away, I thought placement might work a bit better so I can see what industries really like. And then from there, depending on how much I enjoy placement, I'll kind of make a firm decision whether I want to pursue my master's straight away or stay in the industry side and look for a job from then on out. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bhavisha. And Zoe, in regards to students applying on from undergrad nutrition science into postgrad dietetics, any advice in terms of that? Because most students would want to apply for that pathway, and it is going to be competitive, and it's not guaranteed. Is there anything that you can share regards to tips and all?
I think the biggest tip I could say is come to class. We know students who engage and come to class do better, and we've got data to support that. So, it is a competitive process. So it does have a bit of a focus on WAM. So I think coming to class and being engaged is the best way to support that progression. I will also say, though, we have students like Bhavisha's articulated so nicely tonight, who come in saying they want dietetics, but then actually learn that there's a whole other world of nutrition out there. So, we do have those change of preferences for many of our students who either love industry work or love research or decide that there's other things that they want to do. So it's about 50 to 60% that will go into our master's program. So engage in class, that's the best way to do it, and get your application in, I think is the other thing.
All right, thank you, Zoe and Bhavisha. So we're just about to wrap the session up. Have you got anything else to share before we conclude, Bhavisha and Zoe? Especially for students who are thinking of applying for next year, the current year 12s.
I think nutrition is a great pathway to investigate whether you enjoy a health type pathway. If you like supporting people, it's a great place. There is so many pathways and options through nutrition. So I think sometimes if you're a little unsure, it's also a great starting place. And we'd love to welcome you at Monash.
And Bhavisha, any top tips you'd like to share with students considering nutrition science?
I hate to be a broken record, like, but go to class. Like, don't let things pile up, go to class.
All right, that's pretty much it. But yes, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. So just a reminder that the session is recorded and we will be uploading the recording onto the different study pages in the next 1 to 2 weeks time. So just a reminder that Open Day will be taking place this coming August or the first week, and we highly encourage you to visit our Clayton campus if you'd like to find out more about biomedical science, nutrition science, medicine, as well as any other courses that we offer across the different campuses. But if you're looking at biomed and nutrition science, that will be held at the Clayton campus. So the link is in the chat, and we look forward to seeing you at Open Day. Thanks, Bhavisha and Zoe. I will hang around to answer the rest of the questions via the chat function, but the webinar will conclude here today. Thank you, Bhavisha and Zoe, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.